Today, we are jumping into one of the most intense and dramatic passages in the Gospels, Matthew chapter 14. We're going to look at it through the lens of Coptic Orthodox commentary. And let me tell you, there are some incredible layers of meaning here in these stories of a guilty king, a miracle meal, and a terrifying storm. So the chapter just throws us right into the deep end with this chilling line from a king. Herod Antipas, the ruler, hears about the incredible things Jesus is doing, and his first thought isn't about some new prophet. No, his mind goes straight to a man he had already executed. Those words are just dripping with fear.
And that's the big question that kicks everything off, right? What could possibly make a man with armies and, absolute power be so terrified that he thinks the ghost of a beheaded prophet is out there working miracles? To get to the bottom of his fear, we have to rewind and look at what he did. So this first part really sets the stage for us. Herod's fear isn't really about ghosts or the supernatural. It's all psychological. It's a fear born from weakness, from corruption, and finally, from murder. Okay, so this is the crucial point. Herod wasn't actually being haunted by a ghost. He was being haunted by his own guilty conscience. The commentators really emphasize this idea that the brief, fleeting pleasure he got from his sin gave way to this constant gnawing fear. He thought he could silence the truth by killing the prophet, but all he did was internalize it as his own personal terror.
I mean, just look at this contrast. It couldn't be more stark. On one side, you've got John the Baptist. He's the voice of truth, courage, divine law. And on the other side, you have Herod, a man who is a complete prisoner of his own desires and his fear of what people think. It's this classic showdown between earthly power and spiritual authority.
And here it is. This is the heart of the whole conflict. John's only so-called crime was just speaking the plain, simple truth. He publicly called out Herod for marrying Herodias, who was actually still married to Herod's own brother, Philip. It was a clear violation of the law, and John, being a prophet, just couldn't stay quiet about it.
You can just see how one bad choice leads to the next, spiraling down into this awful tragedy. It all starts with an illegal marriage. Then, to protect that sin, Herod throws the prophet in prison. Then, at a party, full of pride, he makes a stupid promise. And finally, just to avoid looking weak in front of his guests, he commits a murder that he knows is deeply wrong.
All right, so now the scene just completely flips. We leave the dark, suffocating palace of Herod, and we're transported to an open, empty field. And here, instead of a king's destructive power, we're about to see God's creative and deeply compassionate power on full display. The context here is just so important. Jesus has literally just found out that his cousin and the man who prepared the way for him, John, has been brutally murdered. He's trying to find a quiet place to grieve, but the people are so desperate for hope that they follow him, on foot, for miles.
And we're not talking about a small gathering here. The scripture says 5,000 men. Now, once you add in the women and children who were there, you could easily be talking about a crowd of 10, maybe even 15,000 people. An absolute logistical nightmare out in the middle of nowhere.
And this, right here, is the emotional engine of the whole miracle. Even in his own grief, Jesus looks out at this huge crowd and just feels this deep, profound compassion for them. He sees them as lost, like sheep without a shepherd, and his divine love for them just takes over everything else. Now, this is where the Coptic commentators point to something really profound. The miracle happens in 4 very specific actions. He takes what they have, he blesses it, he breaks it, and he gives it. These 4 steps are seen as this powerful preview, a prefigurement of the sacrament of the Eucharist, where Christ takes simple bread and wine and gives us himself. And the result isn't just that everyone had enough to eat. It's that there was an incredible abundance. Everyone ate until they were completely full, and even after all that, they collected 12 baskets of leftovers, a powerful symbol, maybe one for each tribe of Israel or one for each apostle. It's just this beautiful picture of how God's provision isn't just enough, it's overflowing.
But the display of divine authority is not over, not by a long shot. In the chapter's final dramatic scene, Jesus shows his power not just over something like human hunger, but over the very forces of nature itself. So try to picture this. The disciples are in a small boat, it's the middle of the night, and they're caught in a violent storm. Now, these are experienced fishermen, but this storm is just beating them down. The wind is against them, they're getting nowhere, and they're terrified. It's the perfect image of human helplessness against the chaos of the world. And then, right into this scene of pure chaos and fear, Jesus shows up, walking on the very water that's threatening to kill them. And his first words are both a command and a comfort. Take heart. It is I. Don't be afraid. He reveals himself as the one who is in complete control of the storm. And of course, you've got Peter. Impulsive, passionate Peter asks to come out on the water to Jesus. And for a moment, he does. As long as his eyes are locked on Jesus, he's walking on water. But the second he looks away, the moment he focuses on the wind and the waves, his circumstances, he starts to sink. It's such a timeless lesson on what faith is all about. After Jesus pulls Peter from the water and calms the storm with just a word, the disciples in the boat are left with only one possible conclusion. This isn't just a prophet. The person who can command the wind and the waves can only be one thing, and together they say it out loud. Truly, you are the Son of God. So, as we start to wrap this up, let's pull these three incredible events together. What's the main takeaway? What's the central message that Matthew chapter 14 is trying to get across? When you really look at it, this chapter is a tale of two kingdoms, a tale of two kinds of power. Herod's earthly authority is all built on fear and pride, and all it leads to is death and regret. But Jesus' divine authority is rooted in compassion. It creates life, it provides overflowing abundance, and it brings peace right into the middle of the storm.
And that's really what it all comes down to, bringing this ancient chapter right into our world today. It leaves us with a really challenging, personal question. When we find ourselves in our own storms of fear, of doubt, of not having enough, where do we put our focus? Are we staring at the huge, overwhelming waves, or are we fixing our eyes on the one who walks on top of them all?